Hey everybody, Jay Croft at Prime Fit Content here with a special guest today, Rick Mayo. A lot of you know he's one of the most dynamic leaders in the fitness industry. Also a neighbor here in Metro Atlanta. Has been a good friend to me here at Prime Fit Content. Rick, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jay. I'm super excited. I'm working from my tiny home kitchen today downstairs, as you can see. So
Yeah, I'm working from my living room today. So
bear with me. I'm not at the office today, so I'm actually getting work done, which is amazing, right?
good.
Yeah.
So Rick's been in the fitness business for about 25 years now with a really successful licensing system. And just this week, he's launched a new chapter in his Alloy Fitness empire. And rather than let me talk about it, I'd rather, Rick, if you could just tell the folks what's going on with you. It's very exciting. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. So as of September 1st, just a few days ago, we officially moved from a licensed model, which was really, for lack of better terms, like a franchise light, right, into a true franchise. So we can use the brand, right, of Alloy on the front door and really give, our franchisees the best vehicle for success, right? Because as you know, license is great, license model, and we've had a great success with that. Our own brands, other big brands, have done really well with it, but there's not as much control, right? So you don't really get the same customer experience, one gym running Alloy versus another. And so we've learned a lot, having a couple thousand clubs that we've licensed worldwide. We've really learned what's scalable, what's not, pulled it all back. We're now putting it into a franchise package, launched, like I said, a couple days ago. And we're actually going after a different market now as well, which is probably why you and I are on this call, right? When you look at, historically speaking, the type of crowd that we've serviced well with a personal training based product, it has been folks that are a little bit longer in the tooth, to be honest, right? They have the financial wherewithal to pay for personal training services. We have a lot of data around retention rates and things, for different age brackets, what price points are more appropriate. All those things are going into it. But one of the unique propositions is that it is a franchise that essentially targeting, that 45 to 50 plus market, which is something that we seem to service really well. And anyone in our licensing family that's doing a really dynamic, good personal training business just so happens to also be servicing that market. So the writing's on the wall. We've had enough time to do it and enough empirical evidence, from our licensees to know that it's the right move.
Right, and there's a lot of evidence about why this market is so keen. And I've been wondering for the last, however long I've been doing this, why anybody going into fitness would want to chase the 20-somethings,
right?
When you've got this market here of people over 50, 45, 50, whatever it is. They're great customers, and there's a lot of them.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that, because I think a lot of people in fitness still think, oh, I don't want to work with old people. They're boring. They're not sexy. Whatever.
That's really not true. So that's a really good question. That's something we address a lot when I do talks at like a Perform Better, right, which is more of a technical trainer forum or platform, if you will. We talk about this. So people talk about like a lot of young folks come out of school, exercise science degree, and they really want to train athletes, which is great. So you would think that maybe training older individuals is on the opposite end of the spectrum from athletes, but I would say that it's really closer to the athletic training realm than the middle ground, right? Which is sort of your hit franchises, like boot camp type of businesses, right? Where it's not necessarily so technical. It's really all about the customer experience, which, as we know, is really important. But I don't think you should do that necessarily at the expense of sane, good programming, right? So if you look at what goes into training high-level athletes, the technical aspects, the movement quality, the things that they do, if you just dumb that down or regress it, if you will, to a certain degree, those same exact principles cross over really well to active aging clients, right? Which is kind of a derogatory term, as active living, whatever you want to call it, right? So I think that to be a good coach and a good trainer and somewhat technical, you should really enjoy training older individuals. You're going to have to use your training techniques a little bit more, right? You have to think a little bit. It's not just a burpees till you die kind of program, which is kind of what we see, right? That's kind of, anybody can do that. So it's like, well, not everybody can do it. So even though we're writing the programming, you're still going to have to learn how to coach it. So you're going to have some pride in that. And I think it's cooler, actually, if you're going to talk about like, hey, I don't want to train old people. It's like, well, what's cooler? Trying to get a 32-year-old woman ready for the beach.
Right.
It's a pain in the ass, honestly. I mean, it's great, but as you know, there's 99% of what's going to happen there at the beach is going to happen outside of the gym anyway, right? Or would you rather have someone come in that just wants to go on a hike, in Colorado in a few months, and you need to get them fit enough, strong enough to go on that hike? Like,
Right.
I don't know about everyone else, but I'll take that person every single time. Much easier, honestly, right, to get someone ready physically to do real life activities than it is to get somebody beach body ready, right? I mean, listen, even in this age category, weight loss is a big goal.
Yeah.
We can obviously accommodate that, or you wouldn't be in business at all. But I think when you really look at most of our success stories, we've got hundreds, right, printed, done on the wall. They all speak to the lifestyle changes that the training brings them. Even though they might have started with fat loss as a first or secondary goal, the things that they actually appreciate later are the things like being able to go on these 14-mile hikes in the Alps and get up and do it again the next day, which they would have never been able to do, a few years ago. So if you don't think training older individuals is cool, you're probably just not in the right game, I would say,
Yeah, well, that's really good to hear because, obviously you see a great opportunity here to take your business in this direction. As a writer, I'm much more intrigued by someone who's 50, 60, 70, or even older because their motivations are much more interesting. But also to a fitness professional, I would think that they're more lucrative. You get someone to join at my age, I'm 55. I'm not going to move. I'm not going to go across town to save $10 a month. I'm not going to join a new club because I got a new girlfriend who wants me to go work out where she wants to work out. I've got the money. I've got the time. There's a lot of good reasons why you guys should want to work with people over 50 money-wise, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So listen, when we knew this intuitively, but to have a compelling story about what we already knew, we pulled a lot of data, right? And some of that data is shocking, right? It's amazing, shocking. So little things like 70% of disposable income in the US, which by the way is what people spend on personal training, right? It lives in the over 50 population, right? Mm-hmm. Conversely, only 5 to 10% of marketing dollars are spent in that group. So when economists are speaking to this boomers or whatever, I mean, this is even a little bit younger than boomers, right? They're not just speaking about fitness, right? They're talking about all brands and all products would be crazy not to essentially address directly and relevantly the wealthiest generation of all times is really what we're talking about. And when you look at the inheritance capabilities over the next few years, the money spent online, by this 50 and up crowd, all these things that you might think were not happening are happening. Fastest growing segment of people on Facebook, which is where a lot of fitness professionals market for new clients, right? It's the same age category we're talking about here. So, and they have more money and they actually buy more products online than younger age categories, right? Their discretionary spending is going to triple in the next 10 years, and it's only going to go up by like 30% for anyone under 50. So I think where we get thrown off is when you hear things like, hey, millennials spend a disproportionate amount of their percentage of their income on fitness, which is great. But as you know, like 10% of 40,000 is not like, 3% of 750,000, right? It's like, it's just a different ballgame. So it skews the numbers a bit. So if you're looking for pure economics, if you want to make money in a personal training business, you would be insane not to address this exact demographic that we're talking about.
Yeah, I agree with you, and not being a trainer myself, but it's right there in front of you. And it's really exciting to see someone like you take the ball and run with it.
Appreciate that.
For me, what I sense that made me do this, because it's just not being met. No one's writing about it. No one's talking about it. And it's my life. It's my siblings' lives. It's my parents' lives. It's, everything that's going on around me. I'm barely a baby boomer, but I am one. And, I'm not old. I'm not silver. I'm not nifty at 50. I'm just me. And
It's a terrible name, by the way.
Isn't it awful? And
Nifty and 50.
Nifty at 50 or silver. And I know a lot of people like silver sneakers. That's great. But just the names of these
Just
things.
cheap. That's all. Like we have clients that come to our gym that are in amazing shape, that are in their mid 60s, right? I mean, these people can outwork most 20-year-olds that would start at our gym any day of the week. Well, they take advantage of silver sneakers to maybe go down and walk on the treadmill at a different club down the street because it's free. Like, why would you not? So, like, you think silver sneakers, but if you're not taking the silver sneakers classes, typically those A players are the people that are fit and on top of their game in their 60s, 70s, whatever. They're just doing it to go jump on a treadmill here or there because it's cost advantageous. That's the only reason they do it.
Yeah. So there's those people, the people like, who are athletic and safe and comfortable in a gym. And if they're out of town, they don't think twice about walking into the gym to do what they need to do. And they're comfortable, even if they've had a hip replacement or they have diabetes or whatever things happen inevitably sometimes in life, at this age. Then there's the other group as well. And maybe this is more people who spent 30 or 40 years working and raising kids. And now they're retired and the kids are gone and they're fat and they haven't been in a gym in 40 years and they're squared to death to walk into one with a bunch of size 2s running around. Tell me about those two targets, if you will. Maybe that's not quite the right word, but those two buckets of fitness customers, and if there's another one in this age group. It's a very diverse age group, so I'm curious if you've seen.
I would say, honestly, those two buckets just reflect society overall, right? As you know, we don't, as a health club industry, we only penetrate a certain percentage of the market, depending on what you read. Let's just say 20% is a good round number, depending on what you're reading, of people that like to consume fitness in a brick and mortar facility anyway, right? So I think if you look at that representation, it's very similar even in this age bracket. So you're going to have your sort of fit, healthy people that come to you that have always done things, right? Now, those people are typically going to be fit in the sense that they have a high work capacity and they understand that they need to work hard and they want to stay fit for their activities. But still, if you're of that age and you've been active like that your whole life, you're going to have some dings and nicks, right? Meaning you're going to have a hip replacement, knee replacement, bad shoulder, back sore from travel, whatever that is. I mean, there's just no way you can get that far along in life being active and not have some chinks in your armor. So we can accommodate those people, but still have to be technical to do it. And the other bunch, the other 80%, which is kind of representative of overall society that don't work out. Yeah. I mean, again, leaning more towards being a better technical coach and just having a front end process to bring people into your gym and into your service meaningfully so that you can apply what you're doing to them at the right dosage, at the right time, at the right level, means that you can accommodate both of those buckets, if you will, right? People that are active and fit and sort of these A players, they're probably still the CEO of their business, whatever that is. I mean, different individual than someone who's maybe stayed at home with the kids, male or female, and hasn't done anything in 30 years. And like you said, doesn't want to join a gym, that has a bunch of size 2, 30-year-olds running around. It's like, all right, great. Well, we're the right place for them as well. Mm-hmm. So I think those are the same two buckets that we see almost in all of fitness, right? It just becomes more prominent as you get older. If you've been inactive, that's when things start to catch up with you. You're going to see more obesity rates, less mobility, like you said, type 2 diabetes and things. They're going to develop a little later from the 40 years of deprivation of terrible dieting or whatever that you've administered to yourself, leading up to this point. So, it's so unfair, right? It's like, how can this be? I've spent 40 years eating horribly. And how did I end up this way? But when someone gets to that epiphany, kids leaving school leaving for school or leaving the home is a transitional time. So I look in the mirror and say, man, what's next for me, right? I need to get my ass back in shape or into shape for the first time ever.
Right.
So you need to be able to accommodate those people or you're missing out on that 80% chunk of the population.
Rick, tell me who's your ideal franchisee or who's your avatar? Who would be really great to join the Alloy franchise world?
Yeah, it really, that's a great question. So in a lot of ways, it's the same customer avatar that we would have in our gym. So as an example, when we announced, by the way, I didn't even mention this before, but we had an 8,000 square foot facility, one of the highest revenue per square foot facilities in the country. And we literally blew it up and shrank it so we could sit right on the exact model with the right population, right? which
Okay.
wasn't a popular thing to do because that meant we had to essentially, lose quite a few clients
Mhm.
to eliminate some of the products or services that were applying to maybe different individuals in the gym, right?
Right.
So to kind of get down to the actual model and represent it ideally, we had to blow up the gym, and take it to that. And in all this jibber jabbering I've just done, I've completely forgotten the original question that you asked me, so won't ask me again. By the way, this may happen more than once, so just a fair
No
warning.
problem. No problem. So who's your avatar? Who would
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
really ideal to hook up with you?
So some of our clients that are in our gym right now are very interested in potentially investing in the franchise, right? Because they've been consuming the actual service with great success for a long period of time, and they're very successful. So when you look at a franchise versus a license, is you have to financially qualify
Right.
to own a franchise. So you have to have a certain amount of net worth, you have to have a certain amount of liquid assets, right? Some things that you could just purchase the franchise with. So certainly the people that understand that there's a gap in the market here, there's no one relevantly servicing these clients as a brand at scale,
Right.
are people that would be interested franchisees. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't find someone who's in their 20s or 30s who either has money or can find an investor, right, and understands the business and the economics of this age category and can relate to them. Perhaps they're already doing some coaching or training with this crowd now with some success, so they know it, right? They feel it already. That would still make a good franchisee. They're just going to have to make sure that they financially qualify and you have a passion for servicing this particular crowd.
And what kind of programming expertise do they need you hear trainers say, I don't want to break an old person. I don't want to hurt an old person.
Right.
Or I don't know how to treat someone who's had a hip replacement, how to lead someone who's had a hip replacement, something like that.
Right.
What do you do for them, or what do they need to do for themselves to, have that knowledge?
Yeah. So, well, listen, I can only speak to it through our lens because that's what we know, but we control all that. So we write all the programming. So we have these sort of connect the dots, if this, then that sort of algorithms and rules, right, that get people from, hey, I need to get back in shape, again, so that the service and the programs are applied to them at the right dosage in the right way and can work around, shoulders, backs, knees, hips, whatever these injuries are, right? So as far as technical training, listen, a nationally accredited certification is good. I know the active aging guys have, right, Ageless Fitness has a good certification. That's a good one. But if we can just get people to run the play, honestly, if we're speaking through the lens of Alloy, then everything is done for you. So I would say more importantly than the technical side, as long as you can coach the exercise as well, which we'll teach you how to do, is that you have the right intangibles, right? We're big proponents of the adage, hire the athlete, train the skill. And the athlete in this case is someone who's great with people, who can relate. They don't have to be in the same age category to relate to the clientele. We've got coaches in their 20s who are just very emotionally mature and can, relate, communicate, and get along really well with this 45 and up age bracket, which is also wealthy, right? Certainly in our area. So it just has to be the right individual, and those intangibles are actually more important than the technical side. Now, yes, get an accredited certification. We have an Alloy certification that you'll get just from your onboarding that will give you continuing education credits towards your nationally accredited cert. But yeah, it's really more just hiring the right person, and we'll handle all the technical stuff on our end.
And what about the marketing of, I know Alloy franchise, you're starting here in the Southeast, I believe. So maybe I'm in Macon, Georgia, or St. Petersburg, or wherever.
Yep.
How do I talk to them? What do I do? Are they on Facebook? What do I, tell them to go see their doctor first? Do I tell them stories about awesome 70-year-old athletes? Like, what kind of marketing help do you give people to, talk to this audience?
Yeah. And so we've even done this. Great question. We've even done this over the last few years in our facility because there's been an explosion of the studios, right? The big brands like an Orange Theory and F45 and these guys. And they all sort of chase that same, again, avatar that we talked about earlier, like 30-year-old attractive moms. It's like, all right, great. We're all going for that person. Got it, right? But there's 37 brands chasing the same person, and they need 800 of them, to make money. So we have, by default, looking at that, saying, let's be different in our market. We're going to go after this crowd that you and I are talking about today, 50 plus. And like that's always been the challenge. Like, how do you do it relevantly? Because you don't want to be the names that we talked about earlier, like fit in 50, or, I mean, that's silly. I'm going to be 50. Like, I don't want to work out a fit in 50 place. That sounds ridiculous, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, you saw I went all in. I even posted a shirtless pic on the internet. Like, I've never done that before. Had to do it. So it's like, I'm all in. That should prove it to you. If anybody knows me, they know that's not my style. So I'm all in. But here's what I would say.
Yeah.
Using the name personal training, right? Like, that denotes a certain level of service and probably a certain price point, right?
Right.
So we're not using words like come in and do classes, or, hit, or 1,000 calories an hour, or anything like that. So just speak to the benefits that this particular crowd, appreciates, which certainly weight loss, but it's really just getting in shape and doing, our motto is, looking good, feeling great, living life to the fullest.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. Like, looking good is it's relative, it's like, it doesn't mean that you have 6-pack abs all the time. You could, but maybe it just means you lost 20, and that means your knees don't hurt as bad, right? So that's the feeling great part. And then living life to the fullest is the things we talked about earlier, because you look at this crowd, they like to do things, they have the money, discretionary income to spend on adventure travel. And I mean, they consume all of the higher end products and services, right? So training them for those life things are really where you're going to see the biggest impact. So use the term personal training in the name of your business or in your ads, and then simply show people in the ads that represent the people in the gym. I never understood how someone would own a gym and they would tell me, yeah, man, we're going after the same crowd, and we train these older people. But they might have one person in their gym that's like an MMA fighter, and all their videos are training this like badass dude with neck tats who's like, doing all these ridiculously hard exercises. I'm like, that doesn't speak to even me. And I like fancy myself as kind of that guy, I'm not, but I don't, that doesn't even talk to me. So all you need to do is show people in your ads, and Facebook's a great forum. We talked about the fastest growing segment of the market is that female market over 55. So it's a good place to be right now on Facebook for personal training services.
Yeah.
So, and you can get very specific on how you target those individuals, but then when you target them, the content that you're putting out to them needs to speak to them. And the easiest way to do it is just to have success stories that look like them. If you saw some of our success stories, I showed some of them in my presentations that I did throughout this year. And, they're kind of boring, honestly. Like, I'd love to say it was like super sexy and this person was doing backflips and all this stuff. It's like, no, it's like, here's someone sitting there who just says, listen, I came in here, I lost 40 pounds. I'd had a meniscus tears in my knees. I could never squat before that. And it's kind of one of those stories where if you're like super fit, you're like, eh. But if you're someone sitting at home who looks at that, you say, that is me, right? And we have people come in and say, that's me. Like, I saw your ad, the lady that lost the weight, right, that did this and that. Like, I want to do what she does.
Right.
And so we automatically then attract like people. So I would say for advertising, Facebook is a great forum for this crowd. Instagram, not so much yet, but Facebook's good. Use the terms personal training, because that means something specific, which is what this crowd wants, right? And they can pay for it. And then show people in the ads that look like the people that you want to attract to the gym, not just the young and fit people.
Right. Listen, I know I want to be respectful of your time. I know we need to wrap up here, but I want to ask you two last things. You're about to turn 50. When is the big day?
I don't know. It's soon. I'm not going to tell. You'll know, because there's going to be a massive party. You'll probably read about it in the news. Yeah. I'm going to have Beyonce down, hang out. I don't know who else, but we'll start with her and Jay-Z, and then we'll just see what happens from there. I'm in Atlanta, so it's sort of the R&B capital. I'm pretty sure we can attract whoever we want,
Sure. Okay. Well, I hope I'm on the guest list for that.
Of course. You're in town, of course. Yeah. VIP.
Yeah. Hey, and then tell the folks, I'll have it in the caption as well, but tell people where to go to learn more about getting involved with this.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, if you're interested in franchising, obviously we'd love to talk. We're at alloyptfranchise.com or I'm sorry, just alloyfranchise.com. And then other than that, you guys, I'm all over social media. Ping me, reach out anytime. If you have questions about this, if you want to talk about economics or whatever, I love to talk shop. If you're in Atlanta, look me up, swing by the gym anytime. But yeah, I'd love to catch up with you guys. Jay, I appreciate you having me on. And I told you I had limited time, but you could probably keep me on here for 2 hours, as you can imagine.
Well, and I would like that, but I'm sure you have better things to do with your time than talk to me anymore. But I thank you very much. I'm really excited about what you're doing. You're onto something, and I think it's very exciting. So
Likewise, man, keep up the good work. Like you're in the same space, right? Pumping good content. So keep up the great work.
yeah, thank you, thank you. I hope to. It's going real well. You know, like you were saying, people want to see stories that they relate to, and that's what I do. I don't write about programming or meniscus tears or how to do a squat or should you do the sumo or the regular whatever. I write about the people who got cancer and overcame it, and how fitness helped them to go participate in really cool events, or women who wanted to go on that special hiking trip that you were talking about and knew that they couldn't do it, so they come to someone like you and you help them get ready to do that. And I came to this in my early 50s because I saw this need. No one was talking to me, let alone people 20, 30 years older. And I thought, hey, man, I've been doing this my whole life. I'm not going to start. I'm not nifty. I'm not silver. My money is green, and I have more of it than I ever have before. So who wants it, right? And
I want it. I'm just saying, you put me in line. I want some of your money for sure.
you got it, brother. Thank you.
Hey, man, come up to the gym. Come take a workout. Come hang out with us.
I'd like to. When should I do that?
Anytime. Hit me up offline. We'll get you up there. You'll love it.
Okay, cool.
All right, brother. Good catching up, my man.
Hey, you too.
All right, CJ.
Bye.